Hey guys, it's Allison here, and I am getting ready to start my layout for day number 12 of Load 518. The meme today is the Rick Astley bait and switch. So I guess somebody posts a link to something that sounds really enticing, and then instead of going to that, it actually sends you to the video of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. I don't know why. We'll leave that for the mysteries of the interwebs. So our story prompt is to scrapbook about something that we are never going to give up, or that we love very much, whatever. And then the technique prompt is to use hearts. So on our trip to Scotland, we took a bus tour of some of the areas that my family and my clan has ties to. And one of our last stops was this very, very quaint inn called the Drover's Inn. And it has some unbelievably cool and kitschy sort of decor pieces that I will scrapbook about later. But the story for today is that when my children saw haggis on the menu, they challenged me to order and eat the haggis, which I was quite happy to do because I actually quite like haggis. So this is the plate of food that arrived. And this is a funny picture of me eating it, and that's my empty plate. And while I am Scottish and don't mind haggis, this was actually really good haggis. So if you're ever in Scotland at the end of the Glen Cove, sort of closest to Glasgow, to Drover's Inn, order the haggis. Okay, so since we are in Scotland and since I'm eating haggis, I decided that I really needed to bring in some plaid. So I went searching through all my papers for some plaid, and these are my shortlisted papers. So I've got this sort of reddish pink, it's really more of a hatch pattern, I guess, not really a plaid, from Simple Stories Winter Wonderland. That's what the back looks like, definitely more wintry, but I felt that this was a good color match to the shirt that I'm wearing under my cardigan. And then this works really well, even though this is more orange, it actually works really well with this sort of reddish pink color. And this is Echo Park's I Love Family by Laurie Whitlock, and that is the other side, which is also quite lovely. And then this is from I think it's Maggie Holmes' first collection, I want to say, and I had her 12 by 12 book, and I have very few papers left, and so I've taken it out of the paper pad, so this was just on my shelf. But I like the brick pattern. I think I might just add a strip of it just to give that sort of rustic feel, because this pub was very, very rustic. And then last I have some Lawn Fawn 6x6 papers. These are from a couple of my Simon Says Stamp card kits. I've never used these, and I liked the color match. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but this is as far as I've gotten. This is where I'm at. Okay, so my family is hanging around today, so I'm sure there's going to be interruptions. So I'm actually going to just fast forward this and commentate over it today. And yeah, wish me luck. All right, so we're going to start by trimming off the branding strip from my background paper, which is going to be that reddish pink hatch. And then I like the contrast of my photos against this lighter plaid pattern. So I'm just going to place them in a line down the page, leaving a little bit of the pattern on either side of the photos. And then I just trim that to size. And then this brick pattern, which I like because of its sort of rustic nature, I'm going to just trim into a strip and add this little book edge to it. Not necessarily because it's got anything to do with reading, but because I've used this in the album already, so that adds a nice little bit of consistency to my pages. That repetition of elements throughout your album is what helps keep things looking cohesive. So I'm just layering that just to one edge of my strip of photos. And when I place it down against my background, I realize that there's not a ton of contrast between the pink brick and the pinkish red check pattern. So I want to add another strip of paper, and this is that light blue check. And since I'm just using 6x6, I just cut two 1-inch strips and then stack them one on top of the other. And you can't really see where the join is because of that notebook edge on the one side. But I know that I can always put an embellishment over the join if it's really bugging me. And then I use the rest of that blue plaid on the left-hand side to sort of balance the color, and then that gives me a good spot where I can put my journaling. I don't know at this point if I'm going to write right on the plaid or if I'm going to add a journaling block, but it gives me a place to start. And then I'm looking at that brown plaid, and I decide to punch it into hearts to bring in the heart element from the challenge. But it doesn't really pop against the other elements I have going. So I pull a scrap of paper, and this one I think I had used on the previous day's layout, and it's got a lovely blue on one side and then this distressed wood grain on the other. And I know that either side will work, but I like the distressed wood grain. So I go with that, and I use my Big Shot to cut it into 3 pinked circles, pinked edged circles. That's a tongue twister. And now I'm just going through all my other die cuts and ephemera bits to see what else I can add, and pulling out whatever I find that I think might look good on the layout. As you can see, I've got 2 die cuts up at the top there right now. Those are from Maggie Holmes', it's either Bloom or Chasing Dreams. I can't remember which ephemera pack I have. And then I'm going through all of my 3x4 cards. These are from Simple Stories Snap Kit, a travel kit. And a lot of them are not really appropriate, but that one with the geotag and then the sort of cream and taupe stripes talks to me, I guess, briefly, and then I find something better. So, and this something better is also from Simple Stories, but it's from one of their calendar, like year in the life kits, and it just says, I think, documented. And then I like the it's got that sort of cork wood grain type chevron there. And then the other one that says Bring It On, I like it, so I'm wondering if I can bring that into the embellishments later. And now I'm just going through all my sticker sheets that I have sort of pulled aside to use in this album, and pulling out whatever I think is going to work. So I've got some stickers from Chamel's Go Now Go. These are sort of an off-white, and it's not like a true white, with a more brassy gold on them. I've got a cloud and a big heart and a flower, and I think a geotag as well. I think I pulled off the geotag from that sheet. And then I pulled off some flowers from a crepe paper travel sheet. Now one is it's a sticker of the shape of the United States, and this clearly did not happen in the United States, but I don't want it for that shape. I just want the color. So I'm going to tuck most of that sticker behind something and just have little bits of the color showing. And now I'm working on my title, and I have pulled out all of my sort of brown wood grain letter stickers to see what I can use. And I also have some gold glitter, which will bring out the gold accents from those stickers. They're slightly different color gold, but I think it'll work anyways. And then because I have the sort of cork on the little chevrons down on the journaling card, I found some cork stickers on might have been Echo Park sticker sheet. You can see one right down at the bottom right. It's cork with a brown heart on it. And then I also have those cork stickers that I used elsewhere. And I think I can bring at least one of them into this layout. So I've got my title in place. I had to add some additional glue to those letter stickers because they were kind of old and the glue was not sticking very well. And I have moved them. I initially had them completely off the photograph, but then they were sort of falling off that blue plaid on the left. So I have sort of centered them so they're a little bit falling off on both sides, if you will. And then I got my journaling in place. And now it's a matter of working on all the other embellishment bits and just kind of having fun. And so I'm trying to find places for everything. And I wasn't really thinking of covering the join between those two 6x6 strips on the right, but there is sort of empty space in the photograph up there. So I put the giant heart up there. And then the cloud, I thought initially I would have it up in the top left, but it really needed a horizontal element to sort of ground it. That sounds a little strange, trying to ground a cloud, but it looked, okay, this is going to sound funny. It looked like it was floating, and I realized clouds are supposed to float, but it looked like it needed something horizontal, and I wasn't prepared to stick another strip of paper up there. So I moved it down to below the journaling and the title and all that kind of stuff. And that way it can sit on that horizontal line of the journaling block. And it feels a little bit more connected to everything. And then it's just a matter of fitting all the other little bits and pieces in there. So each embellishment area is getting that pinked circle that I die cut and the heart that I punched. And then I put that round cork shape with the largest embellishment cluster, which is the one on the right hand side. And it's got a knife and fork on it. So I thought that was appropriate for an eating prompt or an eating photos. And there's a few other little stickers. Oh, and I put in one of my little 3D globes that I purchased at the dollar store. And I can't remember which one that one says, something about going on an adventure or something. And now I'm just going to trim off the the pinked circle bits that are hanging off the edge, just so I can be fully aware of where they are. And I placed, my last thing was some enamel shapes, and I had one blue chevron. I had initially placed it down with the cloud cluster, and it wasn't really sitting very well. So I moved it up to where the title is, and it's almost like it's accenting the title, pointing to the title, and I like that a lot better. So there is my finished layout. And it was a lot of fun to put together. There's a lot more sort of little bits in the embellishment clusters than I've had recently. And that's always a lot of fun to do, just trying to layer things up and make it as pretty as possible. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.